let's go to space.com. Let's do some more of this space news. I love the space news, right? Like as we look to the stars and do the things we do, it's good that we have professionals with big telescopes and telescopes in orbit and kind of pulling this data. And even if they're not always honest, because of course we talk about NASA and them hiding things from us, it's important to kind of get this information out. Let's see. Here we go. This is from again space.com, and we've talked about this in the past, and this is weird. Some of the universe's stars have gone missing, but where did they go? Space Mysteries, an international team of astronomers is on the hunt for objects that should be impossible. And so we actually talked about this maybe a year ago on Troubled Minds, as I recall, and back when we still did the news segment on Troubled Minds, and there were these photographs, these old Hubble photographs of, just kind of like the background stars of a particular area of the sky. And then they had a new photographs of these same things, and these new photographs were somehow inexplicably just missing stars that were clearly still there in the old Hubble photos. So, interestingly, here we go. Stars don't just vanish, or do they? This article says. For thousands of years, astronomers accepted the idea that the lights in the sky were fixed and unchanging. Even when it became clear that these lights were actually physical objects like the sun, one of the key assumptions for astrophysicists has been that they go through major changes very slowly, on time scales of millions or billions of years. And when the most massive stars of all, which are many times heavier than the sun, do go through a sudden and cataclysmic changes as they reach the ends of their lives, their passing is marked by unmissable cosmic beacon of supernova explosions, right? Which shines for many months and may even be visible across hundreds or millions of light years. But here's the weird part, is that these stars, there seem to be stars that are vanishing, that are just kind of, they were there and they're not there now. And oddly enough, we're talking in a span of maybe 50 years. So what the hell's going on with this, right? What the hell is this? So here's what they're saying about it. But what if some stars suddenly just wink out of visibility? According to everything we know about stars, that should be impossible. But over the past few years, a group of astronomers has set out to see whether such impossible things do happen, comparing data across decades of observations. And this is what we were talking about a year back when this kind of came out as news. And don't you think, now again, right? Think about news cycles, all right? I'm going to highlight this so I can get back to this in just a sec. But think about news cycles and how, more or less important these things may or may not be. We're talking about stars in the night sky that in a span of 50 years actually vanished, are gone inexplicably. They don't have an idea what the hell's going on with this, because when stars explode, it's supposed to be unmissable. All right. So, but this is happening. All right. So explain to me this. How come this didn't make any kind of national news at all? We talked about it about a year ago, like I said, maybe a little less than that. And we actually had the two photographs. We pulled them up and looked at them side by side, and there were obviously clearly stars missing that were there 50 years ago. Obviously. And so, weird, right? Weird. This shit is weird. Anyway, here we go. VASCO is the Vanishing and Appearing Sources, VASCO, during a century of observations project, said Beatriz Villarreal of the Nordic Institute for Theoretical Physics in Sweden. We're actually interested in all kinds of vanishing objects, but ideally, I'd like to find a star that's been steady and has been there in the sky for as long as we can remember, and as long as we have data for, and one day it just vanishes. And you can point to the biggest telescopes in the world and still see nothing there. And this is happening, guys, right? Now tell me, again, do you think this may be an important thing, trying to figure this out? Because this seems weird as hell, right? It seems like all the things we know about astronomy, about stars, about space, about whatever, it sure as hell seems like this is weird, right? This is like a, I don't know, almost paranormal type phenomenon, right? This is weird. Okay, but again, it doesn't get any press whatsoever. So anyway, they're working on this, and they don't know. They still don't know. And I linked it. You guys can read the whole article. I encourage you again. That's why I share my sources. If you're interested in this stuff, look into it. Do some more searches. You'll find articles going back probably a year or so, where that's the first time it was brought to my attention when we first talked about it on this show. But they're definitely, again, pictures side by side where you can clearly see there was a star there 50 years ago, and now there is not, and it's exactly the same, right? Most of it's like 95% of it's identical, but then one picture has some missing stars, and what the hell's up with that? Weird, right? Weird shit. And that's why we do this, because nobody talks about these things, and this is as weird as anything ever, basically ever, in my opinion. Like, what can explain this? These stars just blinking out. Imagine our sun tomorrow just blinking out. It's like, well, it's not going to explode. It's not going to go brown dwarf. It's not going to, grow in size and turn into a red monster star and then shrink back to a brown dwarf. Snap your fingers and our sun is gone, right? So don't you think it's maybe important to figure out what the hell's going on with this? Yeah, maybe the sun goes on vacation. Bye-bye. I'll be back in 1,000 years. Who the hell knows? That's weird shit.